oh, is this industry like really safe? Is it stable? Is the job good?
Like my starting salary was $1 a week. Yeah. I actually don't think it's like as successful as they're like these white guys who like don't know anything about Japanese culture, you know? I mean, actually, personally, I like yours better. Okay?
欢迎来到88研究室，大家好，我是 John。今天有一个超级特别的来宾，角色设计师 Chris Mitchell。哇，今天超开心可以邀请到特别来宾 Chris 老师。他即将在台湾推出一堂超酷的线上课程——好莱坞艺术总监角色设定实战课。不管你是爱画画、想要学角色设计，还是单纯喜欢动画电影，都会有收获哦。现在募资期间有45折的优惠，输入专属折扣码 TP350，还能再折350块哦！千万不要错过，和 Chris 老师一起学习如何设计出让人记忆深刻、充满故事感的角色吧。我们从现在开始呢，就会用英文。这支影片最后的中文可能就在这里。Hello, Chris.
Hi.
Hey, welcome. Can you do a brief introduction to yourself?
I am Chris Mitchell, and I am an animation artist. I'm a designer, been nominated for many awards and have won awards for design, but I'm also a storyboard artist and writer. So I've been nominated for writing, also Emmys and Annies, and I've been working for 30 plus years in the animation industry.
Wow.
I know, I'm an old guy.
You don't look old. I'm gonna do a quick Q&A for you, so like everyone can know you better.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how many studios have you stayed at or worked for?
Oh my God, a lot. Some don't exist anymore, but pretty much all the main studios I've worked at. So, you know, Disney, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, Warner Brothers.
Is there a number like
I've worked at.
around 10?
Yeah, 10 plus.
So which studios do you like the least?
I hate them all.
You hate them all.
It depends on the production. So like when you have a bad time, I think at a particular studio, usually it has more to do with the production that you're on and the immediate people that you're dealing with, more than
the work itself,
the whole
right?
studio.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of times when I work on these shows, I'm designing these characters in whatever new costuming that they have or anything that we need to like adjust them. So I actually have to draw those characters over and over again. And some of them I have a little bit to do with the development of it. Like Baymax,
Yeah.
you know, I worked on Baymax himself, the designs, but there's a team of designers and it goes through many passes.
I see.
You know, by the time it reaches its final version, there's already a lot of ideas that come from like different artists that sort of like get compiled into the final version.
I see.
Yeah.
So is there someone who like oversees each character? Because when they get passed around, do they change a lot or?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, so on a TV show, there's not so much schedule to do that. The pace is fast, and for example, on Rocky and Bullwinkle or Peabody and Sherman, I was character design supervisor. So I'm the one who decides. I just got lucky too that my art director and my showrunner, they said, anything character, you are responsible for it. You have the final say. But on some shows, the showrunner actually might be the one who wants to have an opinion about things. That's why I really like the stuff that I did on Peabody and Sherman and Rocky and Bullwinkle, because I had the final say.
You make the decisions.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I think the stuff came out like how I wanted it. You know?
So out of all the characters that you've designed, have you ever based someone that's like yourself?
Yes, actually.
Yeah?
I'm actually a villain in Samurai Jack. Yeah, there's these little villains, and they have big glasses, and they're called the Critchelites. Chris Mitchell, Critchelites.
Oh, so
they're called the Critchelites. And Tom Kinney, who is the voice of SpongeBob, he actually did an impression of me or impersonation of me. Yeah, so he's imitating my voice. Yeah,
Okay.
and so they all supposedly talk like me. And I actually did the storyboards, and Gindi, the creator of Samurai Jack, he told me, he's like, okay, you gotta board this. This character's like you, okay? And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, this character's you. You have to board it like you.
Do you like Japanese animation?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm half Japanese.
You have Japanese.
I grew up with Japanese culture and like newer studios. I love like Science Saru, like Masaki Yuasa. He just made Dan Dan Dan, which just came out on Netflix. They also did the Scott Pilgrim show on Netflix. But Yuasa himself made Inuo and also Ping Pong, if you guys know, and Kaiba.
What's the main difference between like Japanese animation and the US animation or Western animation?
I think the biggest difference is that Japanese animation still tends to be like a little bit more creator focused, or they have a little bit more freedom actually to do things. In the US, I think most of the movies are so committee made. So even if you have directors helming this movie, there's like so many cooks in the kitchen, we say. People who have input and voices. It tends to not really have like a very like personal vision to it, unless the director is able to assert their vision. They're like strong enough to be able to do that. I worked on Across the Spider-Verse with Chris and Phil. They're very unique, and they have a definite vision, and they're also really passionate. They push for that vision. They're like very strong-minded, like strong-willed to like about let's do this. Even on the first Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs movie, which I worked on with them.
I love that movie.
Yeah, thank you. They were like that even in the early days. They insisted on things being done that the studios didn't normally do. Like for example, the studios didn't allow character designers to look at the modeling and like go over the models, but they insisted on it. So stuff like that.
Across the Spider-Verse is one of the most recent work that I've seen that's like more characterized. You can see it's like there's more passion.
The styling on it and just what they were able to achieve is actually mind-blowing. Actually, what they did. I mean, I worked on it in story, so I worked on it early on, but had no doubt that it was gonna look good. But I thought it would look kind of similar to the first one. But what they did was like even more mind-blowing to me. Like, like when I saw it, I was just like, whoa, I can't even.
I think the second one is more colorful.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of different techniques. Like there's crazy stuff, like the vulture is like in this like kind of pencil drawn like parchment paper, old like Leonardo style, and then they have like Punk Spider-Man is like all paper cut up, like collage looking, and there's just like so much work. It's like crazy. What's
your view on the current Disney's work on animation? I mean, Wish.
I mean, it wasn't successful financially in the US. I don't know about elsewhere, but it was. Even when I was on Big Hero 6, I think the failure of Big Hero 6 actually is that they just really couldn't commit to the material that we were trying to make. I actually don't think it's like as successful as I would hope it would be.
I thought it went really well.
I mean, I'm talking about successful, not financially, but like as a movie. To me, it looks like people who don't watch anime and stuff who tried to make this thing, and that's what it is actually. Because the directors, they had never seen like anything. They're like these white guys who like don't know anything about Japanese culture. To me, it kind of feels like that a little bit. I'm gonna just say it. It could have been so much more. And there's actually people who worked on the movie that are huge fans of like robots and whatever, like this culture. They really didn't weren't allowed to have the input into the movie. And that's kind of typical of Disney, I think, because they just sort of like put it through this like Disney filter, like through everything. So everything becomes kind of like, it all looks the same. They're unable to like take the risk, I think, to go out. And the thing is, they have so much money, they actually are the ones that can take the most risk, but they don't.
They kind of did with something else, I guess.
With what? Which?
Like the live action adaptations. I mean, that's risk taking.
Is it? Of what? It's not risk taking at all.
No.
No, it's just using another existing IP. Like it's the most safe.
That's true.
It's like the safest thing actually for them to do.
That is true.
I think. Yeah. So whatever. That's my feeling with Disney. Is that they're sort of like stuck.
Yeah, like the recent announcements, they're all sequels.
Yeah, because they haven't been doing well with their original stuff. And I have theories about. I mean, we could go into that. But Maybe that's another show.
Yeah, it is. So what made it successful before, in terms of character designs? Like before, like old Disney.
Old Disney is that they were really pioneering everything, and they kept pushing themselves, and like things were kind of experimental for them, right? Like, I mean, and they were almost going bankrupt after every movie, actually.
Yep.
So it's,
in the beginning, yep.
They're creating how to animate these things for the first time, and then they're also doing weird projects like Fantasia and stuff, which were
I love that.
Yeah, which is amazing, right? Taking a lot of risks. You know, they were really charting new ground. It was all about actually experimenting and like taking new risks. Actually, I started entering the animation industry right at that new, like, boom. So when I was in college, that's when Oliver and Company came out, and then it was sort of like a moderate hit, and they hadn't had a hit for a while. They were almost gonna shut down animation. And then of course, the next movie that came out was Little Mermaid, and that's like history. It was huge, right?
It was huge.
And then it started this whole regurgitation factory of like this musical. All the movies were the same, and really, basically. And so then people got sick of it, actually, right? And so then the movie started to like fail, slowly.
Let's talk about the job industry then. Character designers, storyboard artists. So there was a news recently. Inside Out 2 did really well. Yeah, they did phenomenal, right? And then the studios start having layoffs afterwards. That was kind of weird. So people are starting to ask like, oh, is this industry like really safe? Is it stable? Is the job good?
Right.
Yeah, so I really want to ask like it's really about the job, the field.
In the US?
In the US,
the
yeah.
industry.
They get paid well. There's a lot of overtime.
We're having a lot of union negotiations and like kind of fighting with the studios.
Yeah.
The reality is that we don't really get paid that great comparatively. And also now, like minimum cheap food, like to go out to eat, is like $20 US. Like my starting salary, this is like 1990, was $800 a week.
Wow.
And not bad, but the starting salary now, I think, is $1,200 a week. And that's like 30-something years later. The cost of living has gone up. And now with streaming, and so our union negotiations from before, they don't apply anymore. So now we have to do like a new negotiation, right?
Yeah.
And so they're trying to pay us even less than what we had already negotiated before for like TV and stuff.
With things like Inside Out 2, when they make a lot of money, do you guys get a bonus or no?
No, I mean some
like
studios in the past used to, but that's like their choice.
Yeah.
It's not like a thing that everybody does. But when Jeffrey Katzenberg was head of DreamWorks, he gave bonuses, and it was nice.
That's nice.
If the studio did well, then everybody got a bonus. Sometimes we would get a bonus if the production was like under budget, or like we finished early, or whatever. You know, like it went smoothly, that kind of thing. I mean, honestly, I just don't really know what the starting scale is because I've been working for so long, right?
How about this? How high can it go up?
See, it really depends too. The heyday Netflix days, you know, like a head of story, I heard like could get like $10,000 a week. But I've never seen that kind of money, so I don't know. I don't know if that's a legend or what. Yeah. One of the things that had kind of affected things was that Netflix, you know, streaming came into the picture.
Yep.
Netflix actually started to start their own animation studio. That was like exciting. And so their new animation studio, they needed a lot of people. They were investing in a lot of new projects, a lot. And they were paying really good. So everybody was going there.
Yeah.
Like just everybody from every studio, they were just like running there.
Pouring
you know?
in.
Like, yeah. And the studio was huge. Like it was like happening. So the other studios actually, they had to start paying more too, right? To match Netflix.
That's good.
And they were like trying to keep people there. Yeah. So then it was like great. And then they started their own streaming services to like battle Netflix to compete, right? Disney Plus, HBO Max, whatever. And then they were starting a bunch of projects too and throwing money. And then Netflix like basically crashed. After the pandemic, they started losing a lot of subscribers, and then the stocks like plummeted. Even though during the pandemic, the thing that saved a lot of production studios was animation. Animation could get made easily during the pandemic because we could work on it remotely, and even the voice actors can record remotely. So it was really the only thing that they could make for a while. And so they had so many animation projects and they loved animation. But then as soon as the stocks fell, they were like, okay,
goodbye.
Bye animation. And because we're not going to cut, you know, Brad Pitt's new movie, but we're going to cut animation, right? Right. So they did. And then everybody started to do that because then Disney Plus kind of started failing. New executives came in, and then those executives were like, no, let's get rid of everything. They went down from like 12 movies a year that they had planned at Netflix to only 2.
Yeah, so it's kind of like up and down, kind of like that.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out what they want to do, and we're in negotiation.
So the market is not as bad as before.
It's picking up, yeah, but I mean, good thing like, you know, Inside Out 2 did really well. I think 4 or half of the top 10 movies, the biggest money-making movies, were animated movies. So
that's a good thing. I mean,
no, I know, but they still don't treat
they still
the animators. Like the studios still are like, yeah.
So Chris, for this segment, we're gonna show you an AI drawing and then my drawing, and then you're gonna critique it.
Okay.
Topic is super sad female character, full body quick sketch. You can take a look at the AIs first.
Okay.
While I draw mine. All right, I'm done.
Great, good. Okay.
Look very similar, I can see, yeah. I put my passion to it.
I mean, actually, personally, I like yours better. And people are gonna go, what? You're like crazy, what? I'll tell you why, because the AI one actually just kind of boring. And yours, I mean, for lack of a better word, it has more character. Like, even though obviously it's like very simplistic, but it has like a kind of energy to it, right? You know, and kind of like how kids' drawings are really like charming. If I told you like specifically as approaching it as a designer, like these shapes, your eyes and the mouth, they're all kind of like the same size. Prompt was that it's sad girl, right? So then if you want crying to happen, we'd want probably more focus on the tears. And so you might like reduce the mouth or you reduce the eyes, but the tears are like bigger. So I talk a lot about silhouette. That's like if we filled in your whole shape that you did, able to tell instantly what it is, right? If that makes sense. For the two kind of ponytails separated from the head, so we can see it. It's like really clear, right? We have space. In this one, it's not so clear what it becomes because once we start filling it in, it sort of just looks like a big black blob. So the silhouette really doesn't read clearly at all.
That's so funny. You just reminded me of that game, like Guess the Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why the Pokemon are such good characters is that their shapes are really iconic and they're like, the silhouettes of them are really readable. Like you can tell right away, that's Pikachu. I mean, if I was gonna redraw this drawing, so it's starting to look like you got two legs. Usually when I'm drawing, actually, I'm just thinking of the shadow shape initially. You can tell there's like 2 feet.
So can you do a drawing of it? I mean,
yeah.
If you were to draw one.
Like she's looking up and she's like she's leaning against the wall. So like what humans can come up with as opposed to like AI. Here's a good example actually, because I just totally changed like how I'm approaching this drawing. It's not just like lines now. Like I started to think about like color or laying in like a flat shape or something, right? Then I can cut in. It looks like a sad girl, but stylistically, it's not something that's like normal.
So what is the main difference between like a human drawing and an AI drawing?
I think you guys saw me like the approach like what I was starting to sketch
Yeah.
looks nothing like this end version, right? And I think that when you give an AI a prompt, it does the most basic or the most generic, because it's just taking like an average almost, but it's not doing this process. I think about like, there's a great documentary about Picasso. It's called Mysteries of Picasso. You can watch him painting, and it's really amazing because each painting that he does, there's maybe like 3 different paintings inside of it. You're like watching his thought process. So he'll actually start and it's like, I don't know, it's like a chicken or something, right? And then he just covers up and then he starts drawing something else on top of it. And then he starts doing another scene. And then by the time it ends up, it's like there were actually like 3 or 4 different paintings underneath that painting that he finished. It's really cool to see that thought process, but I think that's like that the AI doesn't really do. It'll just settle on the first. And I tell my students, don't settle for the first thing that you do anyway, because it's usually the most boring idea. It's always going to be like sort of the simplest or the most cliche. And that's the other thing, is that how many AI engines can they make, and will those AI engines operate in different ways? Because our brains actually operate in different ways. I mean, there's going to be some things that are similar, but you know, like the way you think and the way I think are totally different. And that's why sometimes when people behave certain ways, we just can't even understand. And that's, I don't know if that's achievable from a computer standpoint. Like a Kimitsu no Yaiba is a good example. Obviously that show is really popular.
Oh yeah, it's
and
huge.
It has more to do with the
story.
Well, they're not horrible character designs. Like One Piece, the character designs are a lot more interesting. They're better, actually. So that's a good example of something that has pretty iconic looking character designs, but is popular also. Because I always use the Powerpuff Girls as an example too, because the Powerpuff Girls in the US or even worldwide, they become like really
huge.
Huge and popular even before people saw the show. Like just from what they look like, just graphically designed so well and appealing and very iconic that people gravitated towards it like right away. Like Doraemon is like that. People who haven't read the comics or seen it will still, I think, like Doraemon. Right? But then you even like it more if you watch the show or read the comics, because the stories are great too. That's what I strive for, or tell my students too, is like having both of those things are great. But when you're designing characters, you want them to sort of stand on their own. The story, of course, is going to enhance and develop them, and people are going to get even more into it. But as a designer, sometimes the story's out of your hands. Your job then is just about designing the characters, make an impact or stand out. Like,
Your online course, would you teach people on how to make a character more recognizable or lovable? Or
of course, we go into that and just talk about how to strengthen them up, make people respond to them, I think, right away.
And then the reasons why, right?
Of course, And then weaknesses or things people do that, don't do that also. Like,
So you have a class.
Yes.
That we're trying to promote.
Yes.
So what's the class about?
It is about character design, and it's very in-depth. I put a lot of work, so it's very comprehensive and in-depth. It's similar to my CalArts class. So I teach at one of the best animation schools that was started by Disney, actually, But this is like an even more expanded version of that class. I go through pretty much like every stage of design. I do go through some basics, but I go through them in a way that my approach is different. And also, I think my class is good for beginners, but also for seasoned professionals too. Because the things that I go into, like I said, my approach is different, but also I go into my personal experience. Like, what are the theories or the techniques that we use all the time in the industry? And those are the things that I know. Those are really the things that I talk about.
So people can know like what's important for a character design?
We're gonna go into from idea generating, quick sketching, like I was talking about, and then also into like a lot of in-depth design principles, even all the way up to like finishing, doing the final paint stages and stuff, even how to present your characters and also how to format, prepare a portfolio.
Oh, that's
also
cool. I think that's it for today. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, welcome to Taiwan.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Hopefully you'll come back again.
I would love to. It's great here.
Yeah, so Chris is doing a pineapple cake video, right?
I am. I'm a pineapple cake maniac, and I'm doing a pineapple cake showdown.
Yeah.
YouTube videos.
Thank you, Chris, for coming. 那今天的影片就到这里。如果大家对于 Chris 的课程有兴趣的朋友的话，我们资讯栏下面会有连结。那今天影片就到这里，再一次感谢我们的 Chris。Thank you, Chris, for coming. OK， 那喜欢我们88研究室的朋友，记得订阅、按赞、分享。我们下次再见哦，拜拜。
巴拉研究室，你就和 Sherry 拿着话筒开始揭秘，给你彩蛋分析机，把超清晰给各国动漫冷知识，仍然不再缺席。这是你的魔法，漫威的英雄，每个一堆都让你看得心动，小米宝在旁边。